Look at my office. Oh, my office is such a mess. Oh my goodness. Let's see if I can get a little taller. Hey everybody, I don't know if anybody's there. This is a total surprise. And I just sent out a bunch of replies to comments and said, tune in, I'm doing this. Hold on, let me close the door. Hey, Marley one. Hey, I'm gonna you and I are just gonna hang out for about 5 minutes to see if anybody tunes in, okay? Then the action will start. Wow. See, I decided to light up my office, and you can see all these highlights. Lighting is everything, and when you light up your office, then, hey, Mix, I'm so glad you tuned in, because I was going to send you a special message because I have a special guest and I want all the young people to tune in and get excited about regenerative agriculture. I've been using a term, sustainable agriculture, and that's not really where my son is at. And I want him to talk about that, and for you guys to bring your questions to him. So he'll be joining us in about 28 minutes. And in the meantime, we have, hi, Annie. Hi, period. Let's see if I have any. Marley one, would you please do me the favor of being a moderator on this chat? Because since this was such a surprise, I have not been able to get in touch with my normal moderators, and Haffy may join us if he hears about this. Hi, Travis, and I don't know if that's Travis. Is that Travis? That looks like. Hi, Carrie. Carrie just left a comment on my website. I mean, on my channel, and I said I'm going live in 1 minute. Oh my goodness, Pakistan is in the house. Good morning. Looking up 777. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you please just leave your name there and where you're writing from? Because I have so many regulars, and we like to join the conversation and know where everybody is at, because you might have something in common. Okay, thank you, Marley one, which is Marley one. I know your name. Oh God, too much going on. Okay, I just oh, wonderful, Phoenix, and hopefully you'll enjoy all my Phoenix videos. Make sure you go to my Phoenix playlist if you haven't already, and watch all my Phoenix videos. The Rusty Spigot is here. Shane Winters in South Louisiana, hoping to get to Tennessee. Shane, I am on the way to Tennessee on Wednesday. I wanted to remind everybody, as soon as you tune in, to go ahead and hit that like button. If you're on mobile, I think you have to go off the live chat and go back on to hit that button. Hi, David. Thank you. My hair is still wet from the shower, and my office is a disaster. And who else? Okay, Marley works fine. Hi, Daryl. I will be talking about Daryl in a moment. Daryl Luck, as you'll see down there, guys, is a new subscriber, relatively new subscriber. Daryl, I forgot how you found me. Was it through the loofah video? My loofah video got shared on YouTube, and I had this huge spike, and I don't know what happened, but that spike fell off, and I was heartsick about that. So we're trying to get something else going with my YouTube partner, and she's going to share another video, and hopefully I'll get that going. Now, for anyone joining me for the first time, you know that you can hit that $sign at the bottom of the chat window, and you can donate a dollar amount to which will go to my channel. I got to admit, a chunk of it goes to YouTube, because that's the nature of the beast. We, as content creators, spend all of our time and money and effort to create wholesome. I try to create wholesome content, and they are very stingy with what they share with us. They share a lot of information, but they don't share a lot of their ad dollars. So if you would like to make a donation, that every dollar helps to keep this channel going. And I'm going to put that there, and that way I don't have to look down. So let me just talk about those 1-minute tributes. And Umair, tell me where you are, because I don't remember. And the Happy Gardener, tell me where you are. Don't remember. Hit that like button. Everybody, my 7th anniversary is coming up on the 22nd. That's, gosh, not tomorrow, but the next Monday. And in several live streams, we talked about how are we going to celebrate this? And the jury is not out, because life throws you a huge curveball like it has me in the last few months. And I am not exactly sure what is going to happen on the 22nd. I just want you to stand by and be available in case I am doing a live stream that day. I did ask for 1-minute tribute videos for my fans who have been inspired by me in some way. And I only received one, and that was from Grandma Sandy. She is a Southern California gardener, and I really inspired her. And it was the first time she's ever put herself on camera. And she's a little shy, camera shy. But I have that 1-minute video, but I need a few more to go with it. Otherwise, what I'll do is I'll just incorporate one here and there in videos that are coming up. But I would love for you still to do it. All you have to do is take either your smartphone or your iPad or something. And I recommend that if you're not comfortable on camera and you want to just, write your notes out on a card, write them on a card, and then have your camera over here. And if you can have your garden in the background, even better. And make it about a minute and send that to me via WeTransfer.com. And you'll have to have an email address to put in for me. So put in this. Yeah, so send your video file to that address. And oh, by the way, if anybody needs any of my links on how to support this channel, they're at the very top of the chat window. There's Patreon, there's my Amazon link. Anytime you buy anything from Amazon, you can go through my link if you're not already committed to going through someone else's link, and I will get a few pennies for the sale of whatever you buy. Hi, Carl. Oh, yeah. Okay, Happy Gardener. Well, guess what, Happy Gardener? Happy Gardener, tell me your name. Guess what? I'm leaving on Wednesday morning, and I'm coming back Sunday night. So, I will not have time to edit on the road. I mean, it's just going to be I'm going home to see my mother, and it's Easter. And I mean, Walker's meeting me there, and I'm going to be busy. So I may have to, I don't know. It depends on how many I get. So everybody that has been inspired by me, please, please, please send me a 1-minute video. And you can't hear me, Umair? Can anybody else not hear me? No. Other people can hear me, Umair, because they're responding to what I'm saying. Marley, what did you miss? What did you miss? Yes, Rusty Spigot. Yes. Okay. You missed that live stream. Now, this is what happens if you miss my live streams. Lots of good info. For my 7th, I'll just say this again. For my 7th anniversary, I want to share, and this was someone else's idea, which I think is brilliant. I want to share 1-minute tribute videos to if I have inspired you in some way. So you write up a little thing that you want to say about how I've inspired you, if I have, and send me that video. I want that video in 1920 by, what is it? I don't want it 720. Well, send it to me however you can send it to me, because I know everybody's not tech savvy. So I will somehow edit them together. Easter Monday, cool. Let's see. Just a 1-minute video, Carl. Right. And Travis, I just put it on there. WeTransfer.com is a free way to send files larger than you can send in email. You can send up to 2 gigabytes for free. This will not be more than 100 megabytes if you shoot it on your smartphone or a camera. Hey, Maggie. And so what you do is, once you complete your video, you review it, make sure you're happy with it. If you want to redo it, because this will go on YouTube, okay? You want to be smiling, you want to look nice, and you want to be happy, because what you're doing is saying, it's basically a thank you to me for inspiring you. Now, if I haven't inspired you, don't feel pressured to send a video, but please, if I have, do. And then Travis and everybody, I hope you can hear me, Umair. It's not me. Happy, good. Thank you. I was not able to get in touch with Angie or Patty because this is the last minute idea I had. And I thought, my son is in town, and this is a great opportunity for especially young people to ask him questions about regenerative agriculture. So he will be joining us in about 17 minutes. And I wanted to get all the housekeeping done. Thank you, John. Thank you. Ms. Valmar, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Now, if you've missed the first, let's see, wish my wallet luck. A Rusty Spigot, please come back, because I want you to ask questions of my son. We're not going to go for 2.5 hours. I absolutely promise you that today. We are only going for about an hour and 15, 20 minutes. That's it, because we have to go. Let's see. Okay, I don't see any other questions. So, okay, big news. Everybody hit that like button. I've got 26 online, and I've only got 12 of these. So please hit that like button before you go. Whoever's leaving, Rusty Spigot, do this before you go, please. And I want to just mention that the big change that's happening this week is I am going to Tennessee, but the weather is not going to cooperate for me to go to Alabama. There's going to be major storms down there predicted on Thursday, and I was going to do a live stream down there, and there is absolutely no way I am going to put the stress on myself to drive 5.5 hours minimum, maybe 6 hours, to go down and see Charles and do that live stream and come back up to where my mother is in Nashville. So that's not happening. Hopefully I'll get to see Charles at a later date. And also, the good news is I have just connected with a wonderful gardener named Daryl Luck. And Daryl is online with us right now. So if you have any questions about growing bamboo or elephant ear, or let's see, he has all kinds of wonderful things. In fact, Daryl, why don't you just write what he's a mushroom hunter. Mix. This Daryl is a mushroom hunter, and we're going to go mushroom hunting for the first time in my life. Mix. So please, Mix, can you please connect with Daryl? Daryl, Mix is a teenager in Latvia, and he regularly goes mushroom hunting with his grandmother. So you'll have a lot in common. Please connect. Yes, Carl, you're right. Hello, Maricel. Where are you writing from? I forget. Please tell me. Janice Diaz, I'm hoping she tunes in. She's in Dubai. And she sent me this kurti. And this is the first time I've worn it. I don't wear my kurtis to do gardening. There's too much skin exposed in various places. And And they're very, very, very lightweight. This one feels like cotton. Some of the other ones feel like more like a silky kind of a synthetic, which is just very, very lightweight and very cool because obviously it's very hot in India. Let's see. Argentina. That's right. We have Argentina. We have Latvia. We have Ireland. We have the US. And who else? And we have Southern Illinois, the country of Southern Illinois. We have that. So I will be going directly from the airplane, from the airport on Wednesday to see Daryl's gardens. And he uses the word plural, gardens. So I'm anxious to see what that's all about. He has enormous elephant ear, and he has bamboo gardens and vegetable gardens, and we're going mushroom hunting, and we're going to try to cram all this in before the storm hits. I think we need rain gear, Daryl, for that mushroom hunting. Hi, Joy, in Colorado. The country of Colorado has joined us. Thank you. Okay, so we have about 11 minutes before Walker gets here, and I wanted to open some boxes. I know it's not silly. It's kind of fun, right? But I ordered something. Now, first of all, I want. You may be wondering why I'm so cheerful today. Well, it's just because I'm naturally cheerful, and I am naturally filled with gratitude by nature. But I'm actually just not thinking about what I have to face coming up, and that is, and you can just get from looking at this one office, you can get an idea of the task I have ahead, which I'm sure in the long term is going to be a good one for me. But I have to get rid of a lot of stuff. And which begs the question, why are you ordering more stuff if you've got to get rid of so much stuff? That is a very good question I should have asked myself. But once again, if you order anything from Amazon, please use my link. It's in the very top of the chat window. It's amazon.com/shop/late bloomer show. I can't live without this stuff. Especially as you get older, and I know everybody has their own thing, but I started using this probably in 2000, around 2000. I started adding Terramin is a particular brand. There are others, mineral clay. And this is, they really should hire me to promote this. These are edible minerals. It's sort of like adding azomite to your planting hole for your plants, but it is an intestinal detoxifier, internal detoxifier. And what it looks like, I'll open it because my other jar is almost empty. And I put it in my green juice in the morning. I put a teaspoon in my green juice. Or you can drink it just with water, but it's kind of like drinking dirt. You see, it's just very soft mineral clay. And it does settle to the bottom of your glass. So you have to, as soon as you stir it in, you have to drink it. Keep stirring it, keep drinking it, whatever. I'm all set up for Walker here. I just wanted to show you this. Oh, now it's starting to settle, darn it, because it was squeezed on Friday. This is Valencia orange juice from my own tree. Yes. So, and this is my green juice from, let's see, I have some of my celery, the parsley, charred leaves. That's all that's in here that I grew. Now, I would have put some mineral clay in that, but I don't have a spoon to stir it up. Okay, that's the first package. This I know what this is. I have a wonderful fan. She has been so supportive through this process. And if you don't know what process I'm talking about, you obviously are not caught up on my videos. I uploaded 2 videos this week, a two-parter, and part one, let's see who's here. Hi, Mix. Good. Oh, good. Daryl is talking with Mix in Latvia. Can you imagine? Would that have ever happened without this live stream? Daryl is an older gentleman, and Mix is a young teenage gardening enthusiast. And he has, I think Mix is a guy. I'm calling him a he. She says to this, you know, the video I did in Phoenix. Hey, Phoenix. Who's in Phoenix? Somebody's in Phoenix. The person that's watching me from Phoenix, I just forgot the name. The last time I was in Phoenix, the last person I got to meet and her lovely, lovely garden, which was just an oasis, she was trying to raise money to publish her compost book. She had started this before she had this major life-changing illness, which she had 10 years recovering from. And so she's finally getting back to getting her book published. By the way, can you hit that like button? Because there's 28 of you and there's only 18 of these. And she says on here, post a photo online when you open your book and tag me. Well, this is even better. This is live, baby. This is live. Oh, what's that? Green juice? That's weird. Okay. These scissors are really kind of cool, but you kind of watch it. If you open it like that, then they come apart. So they're actually made for opening boxes. I just forget which side is the sharp side. I guess it has to be that. Anyway, here we go. Oh, okay. Oh, wait. Okay. Oh, okay. So it looks like, oh, she sent one for Eric. Is that the sweetest thing ever? I haven't seen Eric. Wow, it's been a month. Okay, this is, oops, everything's falling out. Okay. So I get a first release, pre-release field test confidential book. And of course, when it is the real book is printed, I'm not sure if when the real book is printed, if it's going to have the spring, but she's got beautiful photographs. Look at that. And she talks about how she does her whole compost method, and which is stink free. That's her big selling point, stink free. So her garden is Miracle Haven Garden. Thank you, Carrie. Aw, thank you so much for your donation, Carrie. I appreciate that. Let's see. So fail-proof composting, and this is Christy Caggiano, and my video is in the Phoenix video playlist, and it's called Miracle Haven Garden. Her place is called Miracle Haven Garden, and it is a haven, I have to say. I could have sat in her garden the whole day and night. And so successful composting, you're going to want to get this book, and I will keep you apprised on how to get it and where to get it. And I'm only doing that because she's such a great fan. And what a nice note. She says, Kaye, I want you to have one of my books because you gave me a voice, encouragement, courage, and strength when I needed it most in this journey. Okay, I'm going to cry. I appreciate you so much and long to see the blessings that will come in your future. Me too, Christy. Thank you. And this is, I love opening gifts. This is oh, this is a nice little thing to hang in your office. I don't know if it's backwards, but it says, "We are bright as a star." We are all stars in our galaxy. Okay, keep going. Oh, so one of the ways I've never really done a video on this, but one of the ways, simple little way that I let's see. Hey guys, Marley, there. Yeah, I just hid somebody that started to say something weird. Hello from India. How do you like my kurti? We have, oh, I'll never pronounce that. Shilpanwita Ghosh from India. It's great to see you here. Thank you so much. And what is your name from Hemet, California? Just give us your first name. And people are asking Daryl about what his Instagram name is because you want to connect with Daryl. And Daryl, I'm going to be shooting a video at Daryl's in his gardens on Wednesday in Tennessee. So that is something big to look forward to. Now, one of the ways that I live a sustainable life smack dab in the middle of Los Angeles is I have a clothesline. I mean, no one should be without a clothesline. And this is a very inexpensive one that had about 4 stars on Amazon. Oh, and it comes, these are plastic clothes. I've never done plastic clothespins before, but it came with them and I'm running low, so what the heck. But you can kind of select the length that you want, but I think this goes 45 feet. I was just looking for 20, but you stretch it across. Mine is across the back of my driveway. I literally have Eric screw this in to my neighbor's fence and I stretch it over to my fence. And that way I can hang my clothes to dry and, you know, pretend I'm out in the country. So that's another package. And there are other ways that I try to live a sustainable life. As you know, I capture rain. I do all kinds of stuff. So let's see. Oh, I know what this is. This is not. Yeah. Let's see. I thought I had. As you know, that I am getting geared up to be spending some time on my essential oil business. It's going to be critical that I make more money this year. And so I have been using Young Living essential oils for many years. And I was kind of active a few years ago, and then I just got focused on my channel and let that slide, which I shouldn't have, but I did. But Young Living is a world leader in essential oils. And in addition to that, we have all kinds of other products, namely original wheat. This is einkorn flour. And what the founder of Young Living, Gary Young, did was when he realized, I think millions of people, because it was a New York Times best-selling book, millions of people became aware that modern wheat, which our farmers started growing, well, someone just went into the laboratory and figured out how to change the chromosomes of wheat from the original 14 to 45. And according to this book, this cardiologist that wrote the book, Wheat Belly, and a number of succeeding books, the modern wheat, even this is what blew my mind. Even, I used to think, okay, if a organic whole wheat bread, that's so much better than just whatever other, the non-organic whatever. Good morning, Richard, Gramps. Anyway, Bosnia, Latvia, Ireland, India, Pakistan. Oh my gosh, I'm so blessed. Good morning, Christina. And anyway, about wheat. So the original wheat, the whole entire wheat grown in the U.S. changed after this chemist or biologist or whatever. He must have been a chemist. He went into the laboratory and figured out how to change these chromosomes. You remember in our song, the amber waves of grain? Well, those amber waves of grain that inspired that song, or that song lyric, or that line in the song, the amber waves of grain were waist high originally in original wheat. And this chemist discovered how to make them 18 inches tall. Now, if you're in agriculture, you know all this, but many people that just go out and buy bread and flour and eat all kinds of products with wheat in it don't realize that those 45, what they're learning now, the cardiologist is learning now, is those 45 chromosomes in modern wheat. And this is organic wheat too. You have to go back to the original wheat to get the 14 chromosomes. So einkorn has never been modified and has never been hybridized. And so Gary Young, because he, even though his company was about essential oils and other healthy products, he realized a need, because there are only a couple of companies that are importing this ancient wheat from Italy. And so he went out and bought the land and developed his own einkorn flour fields, and now we sell einkorn flour. So that's another wonderful thing that you can order if you become a Young Living distributor and work on my team, which I would be thrilled about. Another thing that they're doing now, you did see the box. When there's something bigger and heavier, they do use a box like that. But for all the oils and everything, they're shipping them now in these tubes. And I have had Eric cut these tubes in pieces, and you can just plant your seeds in that, and they will biodegrade. And then they put these in just the thinnest little bag like this, just the thinnest little bag like that. So it's a lot less packaging. And I don't know if you're aware of this. I don't know if you stay on top of the news, but China is no longer buying our recyclable cardboard. So a lot of our recycled materials that we're studiously, religiously recycling are going in the landfill. So we have to reduce our packaging. And I could talk for the whole live stream about ocean animals that they're cutting open now that are full of plastic. So you want to reduce your single-use plastic. You want to reduce your paper plastic. Darn Bunny, oh no, Mary, have a clue. Have not a clue. Got a lot to do before I figure that out. Yes, the 45 chromosomes, very important. And just to end that, one of the points he makes in that book, and I know he's already rich from this book, Wheat Belly, and I'm not getting any of that money, but he says eating a piece of whole wheat grain toast, plain, does the same thing to your blood sugar that eating a Snickers bar would. So think about that. You think, oh, I'm having a nice whole grain piece of toast. I'm getting my protein, my fiber. No, it is because of these chromosomes. your blood sugar is going to go through the roof, and then it's going to, and this is why we have so much diabetes, that it's type 2 diabetes and everything. I really recommend reading the book. You know, it's a major reason that we have so much illness in our country. Who recommended pine cone flour? Hi, Deli Gardening. Thank you for tuning in. Hi, Felix. Felix is tuning in from Norway. Felix, I'm so glad you're here because my son is going to join us any minute. I really want you to be thinking of your questions about regenerative agriculture. And right, Christina, I understand. Yes, I know, Mary. It's just it got to be ridiculous. And a lot of it happened because I'm old enough to know. Everybody hit that like button if you're just joining, because I don't have enough of those. I mean, I'm old enough to remember, you know, we didn't have all this packaging. We didn't even have single-use plastic bottles when I grew up. We had glass. That's aging me. Let's see. And hi, Robbie. Oh, Robbie is joining us from the West Midlands in the UK. And he's asking a question that I don't know the answer to. Does anybody know if F1 seeds are harmful to us? I've never heard that they were. Hold on. My heater came on. Good grief. Putting that heater on. Oh, Daryl is answering you. Let's see. A link to his book. Yes, in fact, I will. I will do it through my Amazon link. Thank you for mentioning that. Let's see. Okay. No, wait, not that one. No, this one. Okay. Now, I'm hoping that this actually goes through my, I mean, it's huge, long link, but that is the book. And I'm hoping if you order that book that I'll get a few pennies. Okay. John Haffey has, and Daryl have explained about the F1 seeds. So that's what I love about my live streams is people start communicating and asking questions, and somebody might have a question, somebody might have an answer. So tired of all the packaging. Yes. Depends on parents. Not sure what you mean there. Okay. Well, let's just do this real quick because I'm sure, I have a feeling he's already out there. Let me just text him. Come in 2 minutes. I believe I heard him come in the house. He's here for 2 of his friends are getting married this year, and he's here for a bachelor party last night. And I'm sure he would have loved to have slept longer this morning. But I say, no, we're having a live stream and you're the star. What is this? Oh, yes, I know what this is. Oh, shoot. There was one more thing I ordered, which I thought I was going to get excited about. This is the cleaner that I use for everything. And they do make there is plastic packaging here because it is liquid, and it's hard to ship liquid without plastic. Anyway, I wish there was something that I, as a consumer, could do with that. if anybody has any suggestions about what we could do with this kind of packaging, please let me know. Anyway, this is how I order my household cleaner. I clean everything with this. I put a little bit in a bottle. I put it in my laundry. I put a little bit in a bottle. I spray all over we clean everything with this. So this is the Thieves household cleaner, and it's very concentrated, and this will last you for months, literally months. Oh, there we go. And I'll just show you some of the oils that I ordered. Cardamom. I ordered cardamom because I'm growing cardamom, and someone suggested to me, wouldn't it be cool for you to go around and do a series of videos about the things that you are growing, and align it, link it up to the essential oil, so I'm going to be thinking about that. I've got peppermint. I always have to have peppermint. And boy, do I need this. See that one? Out of focus. Abundance. This is a fabulous blend. And you know what? I'm going to do that right now. So lots of people will join. I only have 28 people, 29 people. Mary, are you talking about the wheat? Yeah, it blew my mind if that's what you're talking about. Yeah, Christina. Yeah, I know. I'll save it for the garage sale. Okay, I think my surprise guest is here. Hey, hello. There he is. Here's the man. Here we go. I got to get some boxes out of the way so I can scoot over. This is my son, Walker. You want to come a little closer just so we're more balanced? Here we go. Got to heighten it a little bit. And we're looking right up there. Okay. Yeah, everybody's right up there. And these are the people that are online. We only have about 29 people, but one of the most exciting people that, this is Walker Carer. Say hi, Walker.
How you guys doing?
And one of the most exciting people that we have online right now is Mix, who is a young gardening enthusiast from Latvia.
Wow, okay.
I know. And right now we have Latvia, Pakistan, India, Ireland, Midlands in the UK. We have, everybody's saying hi. What other countries? What did I just, let's see, India, Pakistan, Argentina. We got, out of 29 people, I would say we probably have 12 of those from outside of the U.S., which is pretty impressive.
That is very impressive. It is.
Do you want to just tell them about the party last night for just a second before we get into important matters?
Yeah, I'm just out here for an engagement party for one of my really good friends from high school. There were 6 friends of us, including me, in high school that we've been friends since 7th grade, and we've been friends through till now, even though we kind of went separate ways for college and are doing different things now. We still get together each year, and the first kind of guy from this group is getting married this year in the south of France. So we had an engagement party out here for him, and we're all excited for him. So we were out in Malibu just celebrating yesterday, and we have the wedding in a few months.
And he's going to be in the south of France this year. So if there's anybody, well, I usually have somebody from France on here. Well, thank you, Marley. He says there's a strong resemblance. My hair was never dark like his. My hair was always about this color, and he was always dark. But he's got my brown eyes. And let me just show them. This is. You stay there. I've already explained why my room is such a mess. I just happen to see this back there, and I thought I would brag a little bit. This is, let's see if I can get it without the reflection. This is what year? This was.
That's 2012, 2013. So that was my senior year.
Can you? Oh yeah. Can you point to where you are?
I'm over right there, next to that coach on the left side, right side.
So very, very proud of this guy. He worked extremely hard to get on the men's Stanford tennis team. Okay, so dropping stuff everywhere. So I have orange juice for you. It's starting to settle. So I thought since Walker's here, we would talk a little bit about, and the reason I thought of it is Bosnia. I knew I knew I was forgetting some Eastern European country. Thank you, Bosnia, Blue Moon. And Mary Court says, hi, Walker, nice to see your handsome face. Daryl says, howdy, Walker. You can read. Yes, he could do some good work in the garden, although, he didn't grow up gardening. He literally was at Stanford when I started all this. It's sort of towards the end of your Stanford years.
Yeah.
And he would come on, hi, Quick Gardener. It is, I just introduced him. He is here and he's going to be talking about regenerative agriculture. And the reason I thought about it is yesterday or day before when we were talking to someone, I said sustainable agriculture, and he redirected that conversation more towards regenerative agriculture. So, and Felix, of course, is from Norway.
All right.
I forgot Norway. Thank you for reminding me, Felix. So, all right. So that's Norway, Latvia, Bosnia, Argentina, Ireland, Midlands, UK. Oh, it's going to be impossible. Latvia. Did I say that? Anyway. Okay. So Walker, why don't we start by just saying, what do you consider the difference to be between sustainable agriculture and regenerative agriculture? Or would you like to just kind of tell them what you think it is, what regenerative agriculture is?
Well, I can talk about the difference between the two, because when I was growing up, and growing up, that was a big word. When I was at Stanford, I mean, we talk about sustainable energy. We talk about things in that reference, in that frame of mind, so that we were able to do this and be able to keep growing things and have energy and have things, and so that we can live generations on. And so for a long time, I never thought there was anything wrong with that word. But I think, in fact, there's nothing wrong with that word and using that. I mean, we do want to sustain things. But when you look at how currently our food system is, you don't really want to keep the food system the way it is currently. It kind of has that word that you want to stay the same, that we remain and just keep it the way it is, which it's not really what I don't think anyone here really wants to be the case. So what we see regenerative as is, obviously you hear that word, it may elicit certain reactions. Some people believe it doesn't play super well, but what we see is that we're trying to, in my space, trying to build soil, trying to build these lands that across the United States, whether it's in the Midwest with monocultures or it's grazing on rangeland in the American West, you're trying to change the paradigm of how those are being grazed and how those are being raised, because it's been very extractive for so long for this industrial model that we have. And we don't want to keep that the same. We have the methods to rebuild soil, to build land, to build topsoil, to bring back wildlife, to hold more water in the soil instead of it running off, to keep nutrients, don't use pesticides, don't use fertilizers. It really just fits well. And I mean, it's, and then you can get into the climate change conversation and talk about sequestering carbon in grasslands are 1/3 of the world's land mass. So, I mean, the potential to sequester carbon in the soil is much bigger than even considering the oceans, because that's a much harder topic to take on. So regenerative is what we say, because we really want to be building things. We want to take things from where they are now and make them better. And that we can do that through many different strategies, but the way I do it is through grazing.
And so sustainable, just by its very definition, just means, okay, we're just kind of hanging on to what we've got. But what we have to do is we got to turn things around and like really be proactive and rebuild soil, right?
Absolutely.
And so you said, so you want to talk about grazing?
Yeah, I mean, the paradigm these days that everyone hears about in the news is that cattle, ruminants are bad for the environment. They are the ones that are like the leading cause of climate change, and that is true. If you think about it very narrowly, that yes, the things that are causing it are coming from them, but it's because they're being managed very poorly. Because we put them in feedlots, we put them in situations where they can cause that damage. But it's really our own doing, because we believed a long time ago that cattle were bad for the land, so we put them in feedlots and we cramped them in there, and saying that the less land they use, the better, which is not true.
I didn't know that.
There was a paradigm a long time ago that it was thought that cattle would be bad for the land, so get them off the land and cram them in these feedlots, and that's the best way to do it. But that doesn't change anything because you're growing all that corn and soy in the Midwest to feed them, so you're using all that land anyway. So that's very extractive. We're losing 5 tons of topsoil per acre per year in that kind of model. And so that's billions of tons of topsoil, millions of tons of topsoil per year just in the US. It's estimated at like $50 billion worth of productivity lost due to that topsoil. And that's why articles are coming out these days talking about how there's 60 harvests left with our current model, because we need topsoil to grow things. Eventually there won't be any. You can't fake, once the topsoil is completely gone, no amount of fertilizer or pesticides or whatever, it won't grow anything. You can't fake that stuff. So maybe they think that technology can help that and you can grow it in labs, but there's another way to do that instead of that. It's not,
but we have to get busy right now. It's urgent. It's urgent. We can't just talk about it hypothetically, like, oh, let's get on this like in a few years. No, are they talking about there's only 60 harvests left?
Well, there's any article that comes out about that, people are going to be outraged. People are going to be like, we need to do something, but there's always going to be the other side that argues against, well, that science is wrong, and maybe it's not exactly that. And inevitably that article is probably not correct. It's probably not going to be exactly 60. It could be less. It could be more. But the point of it that like we're on a very wrong path that could be very devastating within my lifetime is very right. We see it, we can see it. I live in the Midwest. I drive all over the place, especially with all this flooding that we've seen recently. And you see that a lot of it was due to frozen ground and due to bad weather conditions. But if we manage land differently across that large landscape, things would be different. And so we got to do things now. You see the devastation that happens year after year, and we do it. We like to think we're doing it we're trying to like ramp up our business model to get more and more people managing land correctly. And we help with work with producers that manage about 1.5 million acres in the United States.
Which is nothing.
So nothing compared to what the overall land mass is. There's about 200 million acres of corn and soy grown in the United States. And that's mostly in the Midwest. And so that land is prime land to be doing grazing on. Now, obviously, we're not all going to just eat beef. We need to eat other things and eat vegetables and other things. But corn and soy don't grow food for anybody. They grow food. They're both versatile crops, and they're grown because they can be used for so many different things: skincare products, ethanol, cattle feed, high fructose corn syrup. There's like so many things. But like you go down the list, and you're like, well, that doesn't really feed anybody. So you're like, okay, well, that's not really the way that we don't need to grow more and more of that to feed the world. It's not going to do anything. So there's other ways to regeneratively grow crops. There's ways to like not till and not tear up the soil, because that destroys soil biology. So there's other ways, and I'm just in the grazing space. I would say that like we can replace the current beef demand in the United States immediately by just putting them on the land and grazing.
Well, while you take a breath, someone says here, Mary says, I've noticed here farmers are doing chop and drop methods. They come back and plant in between the last rows. Well, it depends on what they're growing. They might be growing what you're talking about. There's so much soy and corn grown in this country, and it's just, hello, Small Garden Escape. I'm just taking a breath while he's taking a breath, saying hello to people. Make sure you hit the like button as soon as you get on. And it's important that regenerative farming specialists create a reliable database to support other farming business models. Is that happening?
Database, I'm not so sure. We don't necessarily work on that. You can see my shirt right now. It's the Grass-Fed Exchange. I was just at this conference last week, and it's in Texas next year in May. It's probably the biggest collection of regenerative ag people. It's not just grazers, but there's crop people and other people that come. So around grass-fed and regenerative, it's probably the biggest conference in the country right now, with about 500 people that come each year. So feel free to follow that there. That's a big movement around there. There's other people doing this stuff as well. Acres USA does a lot of work around regenerative farming as well. So those kind of collectives are creating databases and have collections of groups of people like that. Is there a database where you can just connect? I'm not exactly sure. I would agree that like farmers need to connect in that way and things. But I think that the continuing thing that we want to do is that the people that aren't doing it, obviously the regenerative farmers need to support each other, because it's a tough thing. They need to be able to market their products. They need to be able to make a profit. And that's important. But at the same time, we need to continue to get more and more people that aren't doing this and don't know anything about it. So it's how do you reach out to people and get in touch with people in rural areas that don't know anything about this, that don't have the money to go to conferences, don't have the ability to have internet to get on a database. It's like, well, how do we get in touch with those people that have 5,000 acres here or 1 million acres here? And like, how do you get those people to be involved and bring them in?
Yeah. It's just, I mean, I would think that Jason is here from Lancaster, South Carolina. Hit the thumbs up, everybody. I wanted to talk about infiltration. I've mentioned this before, and because I learned about it at when I went up to where he works, and that I did that video. I actually have, if you're interested, please do it anyway. If you'll learn something. I have a very short playlist with Walker, and I think it's called Learn About Grass-Fed Beef is my playlist title. And we have 4 or 5 videos. I did one at his former ranch, and I did one at his farm where he is up in Minnesota. And we did an interview with him. First of all, after he graduated from Stanford and went to that first ranch. So please check those out, and want to utilize this young person's knowledge in helping. I want to facilitate, the information to people that are connected to me, because people that are connected to me may be connected to other people, and I want to do all that I can, because this is an extremely dire, urgent situation. Yes, you're right, Carl. Let's see. Everybody used to live in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Well, you said you wanted to talk about infiltration?
I want to talk about infiltration. I want you to talk about infiltration. I learned a little bit about it, and I think that's really the key, because you touched on it a second ago. It's like we're losing all of this topsoil when there's a flood or a big, huge rain, and you can talk a little bit about Gabe Brown. He's this famous farmer who has sort of mastered infiltration on his farm in Oregon?
North Dakota,
sorry. So talk about infiltration.
Yeah, it's another big part of the equation here. And in a day and age when you may not want to talk about soil carbon, you may not want to talk about other things, but water is a big issue across the entire United States, with droughts happening in a lot of countries. Now this year it was a lot of flooding. And so now we're getting basically every year it's either a drought or a flood. And so, you have to deal with that. There's no more real average years. You can't count on that. So the solution isn't to just complain and be like, well, the weather screws us up and we can't get into our fields. Like, you got to do something about it. You can't just hope that the weather cooperates. You got to be drought resilient. You got to be flood resilient. And the way to do that is to manage your land in order to absorb water so that it doesn't run off and just create this flooding issue where it breaks levees and it floods cities and things like that. And it starts by managing land all around these cities, and because that's what causes it. So, whether you graze or whether you farm or whatever you do, there's many strategies to increase that. But if you're on a basic level, if you're able to capture 1 more inch of rain on your land than the year previous, whether you get 25 inches, whatever you get, if you can keep that 1 more inch of rain in your soil, that's 100,000 gallons of water per acre. That extra water that you're keeping. Per acre,
1 inch per acre. That's amazing.
Yeah. So you think about, you have a small farm, you have 100 acres, you're talking millions of gallons of water. So just keeping 1 more inch of rain. If you talk about increasing your soil organic matter, which is the living biology, the humus and things like that of your soil, it's part of the topsoil. If you increase that by 1%, and that's a slower process that takes usually around, if you're doing it and you're managing well, you can maybe do 1% to 2% a year. That's pretty fast, because soil doesn't change really quickly. That's why people don't measure soil carbon every year. You measure it every 3 to 5 years, because it's a slower process. But just changing that 1% can get you 25,000 gallons of water per acre. So
Took up that way.
So there's powerful things here. I mean, that goes to recharging groundwater systems when we're in a day and age when we're all drawing a lot of water out of wells and we're like rivers are going to dry up. You want to recharge the groundwater system. That's going to help you be drought resilient. That when droughts come, you're able to have more water that's in your soil. So that means you have more forage. If you're grazing cattle, that means that you have more moisture. If you're not like irrigating your crops, you'll be able to dry land farm things for longer, and you'll be more resilient than other farmers. And when they're having to sell off cattle, you still have green grass, or you're still able to grow things. And the opposite, when you have floods like we've had this year, you're going to be absorbing so much more water. It's not going to be running off. Yeah, there's still going to be runoff. It's never going to be perfect. But when you think about Gabe Brown's place, he's a great example. I mean, he's an anomaly. Not everybody can do what he's done, but he's so solely focused on his soil and his water infiltration and making his land healthy. And he speaks about it all the time. So I don't know the exact stats, but when you look at like his infiltration rate, he can infiltrate an 8-inch rain in 1 hour, like something crazy where like nothing sits there in ponds or nothing runs off. It's just absorbed. And you look at his neighbors' fields and there's just giant pools of water sitting around still unabsorbed. And it shows the power of keeping the water on your place. And it's easy to think that it's impossible to do. But these strategies for improving your soil health can be very low input based. So it's about the management strategies that you do. I mean, you plant certain things, you graze certain things, you use certain ideas. I mean, it's about being creative and having good human capital.
About having good human capital, elaborate.
Well, when you look at something that's interesting, back of maybe 8 or so years ago, McKinsey, which is a consulting firm, did a study on all the strategies for climate change mitigation. And you had the strategies from LED light bulbs to carbon capture and sequestration plants. And LED light bulbs are cheap. And it was like the dollars per ton, like what it costs, like dollars per ton to mitigate versus how much it would mitigate, how much you could remove carbon you could remove from the atmosphere. And LED light bulbs were at the really cheap end. They were like a negative cost. Like they were like, you like got money from putting them in. But even if you replaced every light bulb in the world, you wouldn't make a dent in solving climate change. At the other side, carbon capture sequestration would cost trillions of dollars to implement and to sequester carbon, but would solve climate change overnight. But you're talking way more money than anyone has to put into that. So,
or is willing.
Yeah. And when you think about that strategy, you're trying to pull carbon out of the atmosphere and pump it into below ground cement tanks. What? And you're like, why don't we just do that with our soil? Why don't we just like put money into strategies?
Wait, they want to do what?
Well, carbon capture sequestration will draw carbon out of the atmosphere and just compress it into below ground cement vaults. And
that seems very expensive. Why don't we just do it the natural way?
Yeah. Well, it's the technological age, and you want to think that, well, technology is the best way to do it. I mean, there's commercials recently, or Exxon Mobil or someone like they have invested in these technologies, and they talk about like, well, we'll let trees get back to doing what they're doing, but we'll pump the carbon in. And it's like, well, that's just an insane thing. Why not? Like whether you use trees or you use grazing, I mean, you use the soil to hold that in. It's not about building and spending all this money. And I say human capital because the strategy of regenerative agriculture was on this scale, and they were just discussing it. They looked at soil management, like grazing management, and they were right in the middle in terms of like they really only cost like $1 or $2 per megaton abated. And it was in the middle where like it would really be like a third or halfway towards solving climate change. Not solving it, like removing the amount of carbon out of the atmosphere to lower the temperature of the planet by 2 degrees, which is what's considered to reverse the problem. So that's what they're saying. And so these strategies don't cost anything. And the only reason that they probably have any cost is because you have to invest in more people, because you need more creative people. You may need more work. Like it's going to take more labor and a little more time to do things differently, because right now you can go farm a giant cornfield that's thousands and thousands of acres with just a few combines and you have these massive swaths of things that plant and cut and combine. And so like they do it all technologically. So you can't do that necessarily in the strategies that we're talking about more human people. But you're also talking about removing iron and all these tractors off there, which cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah, they're cool and they do cool things. And they've allowed to create this model that grows all sorts of corn and soy and things that don't really feed people.
With very little human labor.
So we're talking about investing in teaching people to learn about these things and to be able to be creative on the land and to make these management decisions, because it all comes down to just management. You can do these strategies. You can graze animals without almost anything, because the animals themselves are your biggest tool.
Someone said, Daryl said, it's America. Nothing happens if there's no profit to be made, and that's true.
But on that, and I mean, it's you want to change the system. You'd like to think that we could change that and change everyone's paradigm about like profit not being important. And that may be something that happens down the line. Maybe that's something, a paradigm shift that this country makes. It'll be a while probably before that happens. But I work for a company that like this is profitable because our farmers are being profitable, and like we're making this model so that yes, like our company's making money, and we're making it and reminding people that this is a profitable model. We're not like saying like, all right, come join our kumbaya circle, and because we need to save the planet. We're like, all right, this makes farmers money. In a time when farmers are growing corn and soy only because they're getting government subsidies and because this is all they know. They don't know any other way. And it's what their dad did. It's what their granddad did. So I'm going to do it the same way. Like in a day and age when it's like that.
And they're already heavily invested in tractors and all that. They've got this
they're so
huge capital.
So they're really deep into that. So they don't know any other way. They don't know how to do it. That's why we have a big farmer suicide problem, is that all like the seed companies, and they bring them in with GMO seeds, and they can't patent anything, and then they have to buy that, and corn goes for $2 a bushel, and people are building silos to store it for a day when the price goes back up, when who knows if that's probably not going to really happen. That is a terrible business model, to create something and store it in hopes that someday it'll make money and hope that the government bails you out. I hope someday that the subsidies for those will go away and just create an even market where people can start to decide what they want to grow. I mean, why not even the playing field, and for people like us that want to raise these things this way, and so that not to artificially prop up crops like that, which they think commodities, which I get, this system, this world runs on these commodities right now. You're not going to change that overnight, but it's not the way it's not right now is not working. So separate of the subsidies, separate of the government, we're showing that like farmers want to join into what we're doing because they're making money. These farmers are happy. They're taking vacations. They love what they're doing. They get up excited to do it every day. I get inspired by every farmer that I go visit in 25 different states around this country. It's not just one area, and they're making money. And even on small farms, people that are finishing 100 head of cattle a year to send to us they're making money. I mean, that's a small farm with like 400 or 500 acres, and they're making their income off of what they're growing there. And you don't see that these days. People need off-farm jobs. Ranching is thought of as a hobby and as a lifestyle, but it really should be thought as for profit, because it can be.
While you're taking a breath, I don't know, do we still have India and Pakistan on? Because he mentioned a tragic thing, and farmer suicides. And so many farmers have, because I've heard Vandana Shiva speak at least 3 times, and of course more online, but 3 times in person. And she has talked about the hundreds, if not thousands, of farmers that have committed suicide in India because they got indebted to Monsanto and they could not get out. And many of them drank the very pesticides. This makes me want to cry. I can't even say that. Drinking the very pesticides that they bought from Monsanto to kill themselves because they couldn't get out of debt. But this is happening in our country too. And I posted an article about it. I'm not sure it was the New York Times or where. It was on my Facebook, not too terribly long ago. It was an American farmer, and he committed suicide because of this very thing. He got indebted. He couldn't see a way out, and he killed himself. And And it doesn't have to be this way. We have to spread the word as much as we can, that you can make money. And that was what excited Walker when he was at his first ranch, you went to that conference, and that really changed everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, if anybody, it's a little expensive as a course, but just like I mentioned, Grass-Fed Exchange, another great course to educate people in this is the Ranching for Profit course. And I loved it because it really brings in these regenerative topics, talking about grazing differently, changing your paradigm, but it really makes farmers sit down and look at their financials when they never do. Like they've never looked at their balance sheets, and they like never focus on it because it like scares them, or they just don't want to. And it makes them go through their numbers. And these are farmers that are about to lose their properties. They're $500,000 in debt. And it's crazy. They have nowhere else to go. And they go to this conference, and you see many examples. You've seen dozens from this examples where they turn around their farms the next year and they're making $500,000 in profit the next year, or $1 million in profit. They're taking vacations. They've made massive changes. Believe me, it's not like you show up, you go to this conference and they fix everything, but it's a week-long intensive course where you're there for 10 hours a day, going through your financials, you're changing. You got to make massive changes to your enterprises. You got to be doing the right things on the land that you are on. You got to make massive changes, but that's what it requires these days, and that's why they're there. So Ranching for Profit is a great way. I mean, then that ties in with holistic management and Alan Savory and that movement. They all kind of tie together. There's not what I always like to share is that there's not one way. Like all these people may more push that it's like, well, this is the one way to go do. You should like look and just use all the Ranching for Profit tools. Well, maybe.
Is it called Ranching for Profit?
Not conference, just Ranching for Profit.
Okay. But that's a conference. Anybody?
It's a workshop. It's like usually between 20 to 40 people in a group. And you have to apply to get in. You can't just sign up. Like they only accept that. So you have to apply to get into it. And they do a handful of them around the country each year. But they're well worth it. They cost about $2,000 for the week, so it's expensive. They sometimes will let you finance that and things like that. But it's very worth it. I mean, for me, it was just. My ranch paid me for me to go, and it was very invaluable. I would like to go back to it and do it eventually when I have my own business and I want to absorb it again. A lot of people go back multiple times because it's like so intense that it's really that worth it. But the point is that there's all these different things that tie in together that are all trying to move towards the same goal. And whether it's for profit or it's holistic management, or you're talking about the Grass-Fed Exchange, I mean, they're all the movements in the right direction. And what I like to show farmers is that you want to pull from each of these different things to create maybe your own strategy to regeneratively graze or regeneratively farm, because every piece of land is different. And there's not a one size fits all strategy for these properties. And sometimes you don't have time for all these if you run 1 million acres with like 5,000 head of cattle. And it's tough to make all these changes. But it's not hard to make the shift towards realizing that this is like caring about your land, caring about your soil, caring about like how you're managing your land. Like that paradigm needs to be shifted.
Well, can somebody who is, I don't think anybody who's online now has a big spread like that, but maybe I can be clever enough in the tags and the title and thumbnail, I don't know. Anyway, to attract people somehow, maybe we can share this live stream with the Savory gals, and they may be able to share. So talk about your connection to Savory. Aren't you going to be going to a Savory conference this summer?
Well, our business is a Savory hub based out of Minnesota. So the Savory Institute has created what are called hubs to disseminate knowledge about holistic management all across the United States and across the world, because their goal is to regenerate 1 billion hectares of land across the world. And so that's a large task to take on. They're trying to create a movement where people can get educated. And there's Savory hubs all over the world. I know there's one in Turkey. I know there's one in Norway. I know there's multiple in Europe. I think there's one coming online in Pakistan, honestly, I think in the next year or two. There's one in Australia, New Zealand. And so they're all over the world. And so ours in Minnesota is a little bit different. We're not holding trainings necessarily like these others, but we're going to be disseminating this knowledge to our producers, which is about 50 producers across 25 states. So it's still the same kind of idea. We're trying to spread this knowledge. And so the Savory Institute has created that. I'm going to be taking on a certification, not necessarily a conference this summer, to really record data from each of our producers so that we can have the data to show the world that we really are improving our soil, improving our biodiversity, improving our amount of forage that we grow. We're reducing erosion. We're having less bare soil. We're increasing our water infiltration rates. We can take that data and we can record it and show that like it is trending up for all of our farms. And if farms aren't, that's why I'm here to work with them to help them to improve their land. And it's not just easy. Not everybody's just going to be trending up and doing everything perfectly, because by no means is farming or ranching easy or perfect. Like it goes the way you think. You're dealing with nature. It's impossible to predict, but there's ways to be resilient towards it with this kind of farming, as opposed to just complaining in the newspaper that, oh, all these farmers can't get into their soy fields and harvest because of the rain. And well, that just damn nature because of that.
Right. I mean, I hate to say this, but they shouldn't have been completely invested in soy to start with, because right? I mean.
Sorry, what did you say? I missed that part.
This is no criticism to farmers, because I know farmers were trying to make a living, and they were sold this bill of goods about GMO, Monsanto seeds and everything, and soy, and they got thinking that they could put all of their marbles into one thing called soy. I mean, we shouldn't have millions and millions of acres of soy and corn to be grown. We should be growing food for people.
Yeah, that's the thing that people don't really realize. And it's obviously you want to just educate the consumer about it. I mean, our company doesn't have the budget to do some massive consumer awareness campaign like bigger companies have to do, which is why the public thinks that the Impossible Burger is the way to go, which is made from plant proteins, which is made from corn and soy, which does not change the system at all. So whether the founder of that company is just misinformed or in bed with in bed with those companies that keep corn and soy going, just keeping that system going, who knows? I don't know, but I know that creating a plant-based product is not going to change the system. It's not going to prevent people, not going to prevent the disaster that we see coming. Yeah, okay, you may take away from beef in the feedlot. Well, you're still creating that corn and soy and those other monocropped plants to create that burger, which is the same farming practices. It doesn't change anything at all. So yeah, I mean, the public believes that like we need these massive swaths of land to grow these things because we need to feed the world. But again, those things, the majority of those things that we grow don't feed the world. I mean, the corn and soy are just versatile crops that are commodities that are get used for hundreds of different things. And that's why they are grown and why that system is perpetuated, because they need to be able to have those things, those crops, for all the different things that they go into. And the system would crumble if they would. I used to think that ethanol was the way to go because you get to grow corn versus pulling oil out of the ground, which is irreplaceable. I used to think that was the case, but we shouldn't be burning our soil in our gas tanks. It's not the future strategy for that. Not that I'm in favor of gasoline as the future, but I think that neither of those are the ethanol is not the solution to the problem of gasoline and the loss of oil in the future.
Right.
So yeah, you need to grow things that will feed people. And if they came back and they were like, and the whole GMO debate is a whole rabbit hole you can get into. And I mean, there's a lot of people believe that like you don't need technology. We've been genetically modifying things for years without being in labs, which is true. We select different traits and we've been modifying things already. So whether you do it in a lab or you do it out there, maybe there's not really a difference. But the thing is that the technology of GMOs is not being used for any good purpose these days. It's only being used to modify and remove the complex genes in these things, and all they're doing is make there's less genes in these GMO crops so that they can be sprayed with Roundup and it kills everything but the plant. That's the only thing that they're using GMOs for these days, is to make plants Roundup ready, so that you can just douse them in twice as much Roundup. And I have friends that work
now it's dicamba.
I work with friends that work at Cargill and things like that who say like, well, GMOs allow you to use less pesticides, and it's just a flat out lie. I mean, like, and I know that they're not lying, because I'm pretty sure they just don't know themselves that they work out there. They've been fed the same things that the companies feed to the rest of the world. And that GMOs allow you to use less things. They make you more resilient. You can grow food in parts of the world where you weren't be able to before. Great. Maybe that's required in the future when things get more desertified and you need to be able to go grow rice in the Middle East where it's a desert. Fine. Maybe you create a strain that could help that, and maybe that helps save a country. I mean, that might be a solution, but right now all you're doing is simplifying a crop to make it Roundup ready, and that is the only strategy that's being used these days. It's not being used for anything else good. So it's not that GMOs are necessarily bad. It's the way GMOs are being used now, and it's allowing you to have your crops that are doused in Roundup. And I live in the Mississippi watershed, and if anybody, I was just at this conference, Grass-Fed Exchange. If anyone has heard of the doctor or wants to look up the Dr. Zach Bush, he was a great speaker. He's the keynote speaker, and he's a doctor that's triple board certified. And he had a great talk and how he's looked very deeply and done a lot of studies into glyphosate and how glyphosate breaks down cell walls and can cause things like cancer and autism and other things, and why there's so many things that have become more rampant. And when doctors these days say that these things are genetic, and it's like, well, it's impossible for these things to have become so much more rampant in one generation when they're genetic. It's literally impossible for that to happen. And so the correlations may not be all right, but you can see the maps of where the glyphosate, which is being used, which is the edges of North Dakota, South Dakota, all of Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Indiana, Ohio, things like that, which is in the Mississippi watershed.
Hold on a second. Is it Zach Bush?
Well, I don't know if it's a book, but like, I mean.
But is it?
Yeah.
Am I spelling that right?
Yeah, I'm spelling it right. Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, he has those water products and stuff. I mean, he sells things like anybody else does. But I mean, he has a lot of studies about what glyphosate does to break down things within your body. And what I was saying before about where all the glyphosate is being used and goes into the Mississippi watershed, then you look at the map as to where the most increases in cancer have been in the United States since the implementation and the real increase in glyphosate use. And it's all down at the bottom of the Mississippi watershed. If you look at states like Louisiana, Mississippi, other southern states down there along that watershed, that is where cancer is rampant these days. And it's hard to you can't prove that that's necessarily the case, but if you can show that glyphosate's breaking down cell walls and how dangerous it is to humans, all right, that's where all the glyphosate is being used. It all enters into the Mississippi River and flows down, and then it comes out, and people use that water. No wonder people are getting more and more sick. And it doesn't just cause cancer; it causes a number of sicknesses as well. So he was a great person to show that. Like anybody, take the talk with a grain of salt. He's not 100% right. No one really is. I'm definitely not. But there's numerous ways. That's why I try to sit here and never promote one exact thing, but we need to move in another direction. And this is, it connects back to everything. What we do with our company, we like to say, is that we're trying to regenerate land across the United States, and our byproduct is 100% grass-fed beef that we have to sell in stores. That's what pays the bills and allows us to go out and have this mission of regenerating land. And so it's a for-profit company. We're not just a nonprofit looking for donations to get this done. We're trying to show that this in the capitalistic mindset here, like that you can be an entrepreneur, but also building a business that's being regenerative and to continue this model. Our model is exponential. We can continue to add producers, add slaughter plants, add stores, and just add more customers. It can grow as big as we can possibly make it. So. There's other people doing this. There's by no means just our company. There's a lot of great people with like Kiss the Ground and Savory Institute, Holistic Management International,
you can get
Carbon Underground.
Kiss the Ground through my Amazon store. I have it there.
So there's so many people doing great things out there. Everyone's strategy is a little bit different, but it's all in the right direction.
Well, it's all in the right direction of people who are making things better.
Well, of those organizations,
Yeah,
not everybody. Obviously, we are all trying to create this movement. And there's numerous ways to do that. Who you educate. We choose to do it directly through the farmers to get them to change their land. We're trying to get farmers to convert their former corn and soy land and turn it into pasture land and to raise cattle, because that's what we need to see. Now, we're able to only convert people that have 100 or 200 or 500, maybe 1,000 acres. But maybe eventually, if we grow this big enough, we can offer a price and paying cattle that would offset whatever anyone could get through subsidies. We want to offer a price where someone that's growing corn is like, why the heck am I in this? Like, I can be growing grass, whether they even care about soil or not. Whether they care about their bottom line, we want to be to that point, because that'll just bring in more and more people. And if they just care about their bottom line, we can be like, all right, I'm going to make $1 million more a year if I sell my equipment and just raise cattle. Great. That's what we want people to do. So we got to grow our business so that we can offer that price that's not just market related.
Can they just grow grass? I thought you said if they just want to grow grass, not necessarily manage cattle. Is that a step in the right direction, or do you have to have ruminants? Ruminants are cattle,
sheep, goats. I'm forgetting something else, but like pigs and chickens aren't. Horses, I guess, are ruminants.
No,
they're not. Okay,
no,
whatever.
No,
I always forget.
Too. Yeah.
Whatever. I'm not an animal science major at all. I didn't study this in college, so I'm still new to that stuff. You want things grazing on your land. I mean, that's what we talk about. Whether you eat beef or not, you want ruminants grazing across the plains, because this is how we create soil. You can do it. You can farm, and we need other things besides animals. So you got to grow crops and other things that are nutrient dense. But you were trying to grow nutrient dense food that actually feeds people, and not just things that are very nutrient lacking. And even if they are things that are meant to feed people, instead of creating these massive dishes of food that don't really feed, they might takes forever to get you full. You maybe eat a 6 ounce steak and some organic potatoes and some broccoli, and you're full, because your meal's actually, you've gotten everything you need out of your meal, as opposed to going to a buffet and getting a massive pile of food and you're like, how am I still hungry after this? Because it doesn't have anything in it. So we want to grow things like that. And so when you think about growing food for the future to feed people, well, you don't need, when you think about,
you can feed them less if you have more nutrients.
Yeah, because they're getting the things out of it. So you can't blame people for the issues necessarily that they have with diabetes and obesity, because they don't know any other way. They've been taught by their parents, or they're just in food deserts. I live just outside Minneapolis, and Minneapolis has a great food scene. You step out of Minneapolis, and it's all fast food restaurants and chain restaurants. There's no real good access to food. And I mean, that's just outside one of the larger metropolitan cities in the United States, especially in the Midwest. And
Tracy is here. Tracy, you have to go back and listen to all this. Tracy actually has a farm in Pennsylvania. You're not going to say it all again. Tracy, how many acres do you have? Because that was a question I was just going to ask you. We're talking about food and regenerative agriculture, Tracy. How many acres? You're still looking for producers. First of all, your company is called
Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed.
And you're still looking to add producers to your
always. And this is what we're talking about, building the model. I mean, that we have the capacity to bring on pretty much any producer that we want to. I have the leeway to do that myself. I control the sourcing of all the animals, and that has been given to me by my boss. My boss, he's an entrepreneur that I learned a lot about from business. He started many successful businesses, and he's now here to show that regenerative agriculture can make money while also changing the system, because he grew up in Minnesota. He's seen what conventional food does to people, how it's grown. It's not good. So he wants to be a part of this until he dies, that he's a part of this business to grow it as big as possible.
How small a farm or number of animals would you be interested in working with? Like say, for example, if Tracy was only raising 10 or 20 head of cattle, but she wanted to sell 5 of them a year, whatever.
Yeah, we don't like to put exact caps on it. We do process out in Vermont. So Tracy out in Pennsylvania, we do source from people out in Pennsylvania. If you do want to raise cattle, or you don't already, or however you want to do it. I mean, we have to make numbers work in terms of transportation. And
she has a little over 50.
Yeah. I mean, the size of the farm itself is not super important. I mean, on 50 acres, if it's all planted in pasture, which it may not be, which is fine. If you could plant it all in pasture and you have the productivity of 2 animals to an acre, you could raise 25 animals a year on it, or something like that. Maybe you don't have that productivity. Maybe you can only raise 10. Maybe you can only raise 15. Whatever. But I mean, the small farmers, what we intended to will always work with. This is Matt's passion, is to revitalize rural communities along with this, and that's something we haven't even talked about. But all these farmers are in very rural areas of the United States, and they're doing great things, and no one knows what they're doing. But they're all at the forefront of revitalizing their communities. At some function, whether they're like mayors of their towns, or they're like on the city council, or they're like just like the leader, unrecognized leader of their areas. They're doing something, and they care about their community, and they're revitalizing it by leasing land or help, like teaching other farmers how to do things. They're all at the forefront of that. And we want to support those farmers by giving them a market for raising these kind of animals and having the practices of regenerative agriculture.
And what about the farmers that are just raising hay for other farmers who like, for example, you know, I did the video with in Tennessee with Lee McCormick, and he has what did he have? 4,000 acres, and he had 700 head, and but because it rains so much, there's so much grass down there, he can have a lot of cattle on and not a lot of acres. But I think that wasn't he buying? Oh no, it's somebody else that's buying hay from someone else. So are you supporting farmers that are growing hay for? Because a lot of these farmers have to have supplemental hay in the winter to. Yeah. And please, just for their benefit, if while you're here, just tell them about your protocols. And by the way, Thousand Hills has the best protocols, or at least they're the top of the protocols of your grass-fed. Tell them quickly about what the grass-fed label on beef means in the store.
Well, the grass-fed label means very little these days, unfortunately. If you can find something that's third-party certified by American Grass-Fed Association or PCO or Animal Welfare approved, they have a grass-fed label there. There's a couple others. The American Grass-Fed and these 3 I mentioned are a few of the best. They're going to be the best ones to really make sure it is really, truly 100% grass-fed. If it doesn't have a third-party certification on it, you really shouldn't trust it, because it's not really regulated as to what the USDA allows products to be labeled grass-fed, when the bare minimum is that they are fed DDGs, which refers to dry distillers grains, in a feedlot. So grass-fed has no standard around how you raise them in terms of pasture or being anything. It's just what you feed them. So you can be in their mind.
So they can even not be on grass. To make it simpler for us, they cannot even be on grass and be labeled grass-fed, because they're being fed distillers
grains.
Now
let's tell the story of it. I mean, the cow-calf producers are not in a feedlot. Everybody raises cow-calf on land in the plains or wherever. There's a lot of specific areas where you just raise calves and you don't finish animals all the way to processing. And those calves get backgrounded somewhere. They might go somewhere else onto grass. So those calves are on pasture, on grass. They might be getting fed corn or something like that out in the pasture, but they're going to usually always be on pasture. And then those 500, 600-pound calves will go somewhere else for maybe a month or 2 to get up to a certain weight. And then the feedlots will bring them on at 700, 800 pounds, and they'll just pack on the pound with corn until they're finished. So that's how the system is. And so these days, because of grass-fed, the people that do that are trying to tell you, well, they're on grass most of their lives. And so they'll try to sell you the label of grass-fed, grain finished. And it's like, well, that's not any different than it always is. It's just a different marketing ploy. And that's a lot of what these things are these days, are marketing. I mean, we have to do that too. We're a marketing company, so we have to market differently and try to show people that that's not the case. And you get ridiculous questions. When I was at a farmer's market once, and someone came up to me and said, "What you?" Because we were at my ranch in California, we were grass-fed, grass-finished, to show that people we were finished on grass as well. to kind of combat that. And someone's like, well, wait, you're grass finished? I thought that was illegal. And they're like, what do you mean that's illegal? Well, I went to this farmer and they told me that you can only grain finish them. I'm like, well, that's ridiculous. Like, why would that be illegal? I mean, like, why are you listening to that? So, I mean, there's all sorts of crazy claims out there about it. I mean, it's all very simple. I mean, it's just different ways to try to keep the system the same. And so our protocol is around trying to, I mean, it's trying to be the most regenerative protocol out there. We're trying to get that require that these we're having the certification of taking this data because we're requiring the farmers to have regenerative practices. It may not be a specific strategy, but to their area, I mean, we are going to require them to be building their soil, and whether they want to use a specific strategy that I have for them, but they're not allowed to feed antibiotics, no hormones, the classic things you see these days, but no dry distillers grains. And dry distillers grains can refer to either the spent grain from like a brewery or something like that. They usually sometimes can be, some farmers do that well, and that they work with a local brewery that like has to get rid of their spent grain. And it's good to just take it from them because it's cheap and it's a good supplement for them in the winter. And it's really like only the spent grain. So it's the hull of corn and stuff. And if it's not non-GMO, then it's really not like the worst thing. But when you're talking about feeding GMO corn hulls in a feedlot, the system isn't, and you're just doing, that's not any different. But the label, the USDA allows that to be labeled like that these days, just like the USDA allows beef to come in from New Zealand and Uruguay and South America and other places to be labeled product of the US when it's all it does is get further processed from a carcass into a package and then is labeled product of the US.
I didn't even know that.
So
it's a product, meaning it was produced, but the cow actually came from a different country.
But the consumer will have no idea. All they see is product of the US and like, oh, great, I'm supporting a US farmer, and they're not. So there's all sorts of labeling issues. I mean, it's crazy to think about but it's all for a number of reasons. I mean, it's because people have paid for those things to happen, and that's why those things remain. We try to change the system. We may not. Those farmers in New Zealand and Uruguay that are grazing grass-fed really do have generally pretty good practices. So on the range of issues that we deal with, it's not like probably the most pressing, because if they're raising animals the right way and are regeneratively farming, but just in another country, well, that's not a bad thing. It's just that they're taking away from profits from American farmers. Okay, that's an issue, but it's probably not, in my book, number one. So if you're talking about protocols, I mean, there's a long list. You can go to our website and then look. It's a 5-page protocol about like what age you wean and like what you can and cannot feed. You have to certain areas you have to feed dried forage. And I think the hay question is a bigger question than necessarily our protocols. I think that hay is always going to be something that's necessary. There are books out there from people like Jim Garish and other people about how you can kick your hay habit and how you can reduce your amount of hay. Hay is always going to be a big business, but farming hay is not regenerative. You can be through it. Because my boss on his farm has to cut hay for the winter, but you don't like just have pastures that are always just cut for hay. You may take one cutting of hay, let it regrow, and then graze it later. And so you still have that animal action that will allow for you to regenerate land. But if you're just having pastures that are only cut for hay, you cut 3 or 4. I mean, this is what happens is hay pastures are usually cut 2 or 3 times in a season. You get 1, 2, 3 cuttings and you sell all that. You've dumped fertilizer on it. You've dumped pesticides. And that's what happens with alfalfa fields. I mean, there's a lot of alfalfa that's grown for dairies and for cattle and things like that. And that's why alfalfa is also a GMO crop now, because it can be monocropped and it's cut for hay. So you got to really watch out there. I mean, hay is always going to be necessary, but there are ways to grow stored forage with your perennial plants that cattle can eat during the winter, and that can reduce your hay usage. I mean, our growing season in the Midwest is 5 months. So at a certain point, you got to use stored forage. But we've worked on strategies for the last couple of years to graze our cows into December or January when the forage shut off in October, so that they only have to be fed hay for 3 months instead of 6. Now our cows we have 120 cows. That's 2 round bales a day. You're talking a ton of hay a day, something like that. And if you're saving 6 months or 3 months of that versus, that's a lot of money saved. And you're also talking about not having to cut that versus grazing, and grazing it will always be better than just cutting it with a because the way that the cow rips it and the saliva, all those things have been proven to be like stimulating for that plant versus just chopping it with a mower. Which is what hay usage or hay cutting is. So hay is always going to be necessary, but there are ways to cut it down. Hay is always going to be expensive. You need equipment to do it, and it's hard. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but if you can cut down on hay, it's going to be really better, much better. It's going to be better for your bottom line and for your land.
I'm just trying to get this won't post for some reason. Eric at Double Dog has. I was trying to post a link to Restoration Agriculture by Mark Shepard, but through my Amazon link. But you can get it through my Amazon link if you go.
Because you're over the limit.
Oh, I'm over. Well, it's long.
Yeah, so you can't shorten it. So
okay, okay. So just go to my Amazon. Right, go to my Amazon link. Did you finish your point? I just wanted to say hello to Amy and Damien and Scarlett and Michaela. Can you say hi to them? They're watching right now. They're our friends.
Hi guys, how you doing?
They're our friends, and they're going to be seeing us very soon. In fact, we only have about 5 more minutes. If anyone would like to, thank you, Marley. I appreciate. Wait, it did it again. It's over the limit. Oh, it's way over the limit. Shoot. No, that's not what I was trying to do. I was just trying to do that. Oh, I see. I have to erase this and do that. Okay. So go to my Amazon link and get that book that, Mark Shepard's book?
No.
Regenerative Agriculture.
There's a lot of great books. I'm reading the book of
Thank you, Marley.
Call of the Reed Warbler.
See you, Jack.
Call of the Reed Warbler by Charles Massey, who's a great person out of Australia who just spoke at Grassfield Exchange. It's a wonderful book so far. And so, I mean, there's a lot of books out there that should really inspire people about.
What did you say, Charles Massey?
Yeah. It's just called, Charles Massey, Massy. And it's called Call of the Reed Warbler. And it's just about the history of Australia and how industrial agriculture and how that has just become extremely extractive and how we need to move towards regenerative agriculture. So it's great. I mean, I know we only have a few minutes left, but I mean,
yes, Shil Panwita wants to ask a question. Have you ever been to Maine to see the organic progress they've made?
I have not been there.
Do you have any producers in Maine? I
don't yet, but I imagine at some point. I know they made a lot of progress. I would just urge when you use the word organic, I mean, organic is much better than the conventional ways, but organic has really been watered down these days as well. So organic just shouldn't be lumped in with regenerative because organic can be farmed very extractively, just like conventional. Yes, they don't allow glyphosate. You're going to cut out some of the things that are going to be very harmful to you. But in terms of how those farmers, I don't know these farmers in Maine. They may be raising regeneratively. And that's what we want to see. But I just urge people that don't lump organic necessarily in with regenerative. You need to be both, really. I mean, you want to see people not using pesticides, but also building their soil using regenerative techniques.
Well, I heard.
Wait, but there was a question. Do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, but she didn't ask it. Yes, you are allowed to ask. Ask your question. MOFGA.
Yeah.
How can we organically make any soil acidic in nature? It's for my little garden. Well, Daryl would be a great person to answer that question because he has a wonderful garden. Daryl, can you address her question? I don't know if you want to make it acidic, but maybe you can talk with Daryl. We have like 3 minutes, and then we're going to have to go. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to ask Walker? And if you're just tuning in, I just want to remind you that I am going to Tennessee on Wednesday, but I am not going to be able to see Charles at Old Alabama Gardener. His wife is going to have some more cancer treatments, and it's not the best time. And they're going to be okay. They're not in a rush, so we got a few more minutes. Well, we better not, Amy, because we got a lot to do before. Yeah, we're going to sign off here in like 5 minutes.
But I just wanted to say that I threw out my email to everybody out there on the chat there. So if people just want to ask me questions, I'm happy to talk. This is what I do. I talk with producers. I educate people. I'm by no means, I have 1,000 things to learn, 1,000,000 things to learn more. I've only been in this for 5 years, but I have a small amount of knowledge from what I've seen across a large landscape of the United States and into Mexico and Haiti and Costa Rica and a lot of other places that I've witnessed this kind of agriculture. I've been to New Zealand too. And I mean, I'd love to go more around the world and to see what's going on here. But with me done it on the ground myself in California and worked with producers, I have some knowledge to share with people. Maybe I don't. Maybe I'll learn from you, and I love to learn from people. So you're always welcome to send me an email. We can always chat on the phone. Welcome to give me a call. So I'm happy to be there for people.
And if you would like to hear more about all of these topics with Walker, I am going to be with him next weekend. It is possible that we could do another live stream, because I will not be doing a live stream from Old Alabama Gardeners in Alabama on the 18th at noon. That's not going to happen. And there's supposed to be really bad weather in the South on Thursday. So I don't know where I'll be, and I probably won't be doing a live stream on Thursday. I just don't know. But if you'd like to hear more from Walker, please leave a comment. And of course, you can hit the like button if you haven't already. And you're welcome you got about a minute here to make a live chat, a super chat donation to my channel. Every dollar counts. And consider becoming a patron of this channel, because that's going to be really important going forward for me to know I have patrons that support this channel and that want more of what I have to offer in terms of content. So thank you so much for watching. And are there any last questions? Yes. You can, you know what? Let's see. Hopefully Daryl can answer. Oh, good. Oh, Daryl has just said the live stream is a possibility. We could do a live stream from Daryl's, and then we could answer your question, Ship Panwita. So try to make sure you're subscribed, first of all, and make sure you check my community page updates, because I will be posting there the day before I have another live stream. I'll also be posting on Late Bloomer Show on Facebook. So please follow me there. Follow Late Bloomer Show on Twitter and Instagram. And I will be posting all of those things the day before my next live stream. But we're all going to wish Charles at Old Alabama Gardener's wife good success with her cancer treatments. And thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure, if you haven't, to watch my last 3 videos, the Urban Garden Paradise and Workday with Kaye, part 1 and 2. There's very important information in there, and I want all of my fans to know what's going on. Okay, thanks again, Marley. That was very sweet. Yeah, we might be doing a live stream from Daryl's Gardens in Tennessee on Thursday. So we'll see if we can make that happen.
People are asking for the link to the website. If
Yes.
people want to go to our website, I'm typing it in right now. If people want to just remember, it's thousandhillslifetimegrazed.com. And you're welcome to go there. It's actually a pretty archaic website right now. We're in the midst of rebranding it. So it's about 10 years old right now. It's not super informative, but you can find our protocol there. I would tune back in within the next couple months, and we'll have an entirely redesigned website about our mission.
There's something really important that I forgot to bring up, and I just wanted to. They also have a mineral business, and you've pointed out to me the difference between your mineral, because believe it or not, I mean, not believe it or not, but part of the thing with grass-fed, if an animal is on grass its whole life, you also have to supplement it with minerals. And can you just explain the difference between what most people are using? I don't know, Tracy, if you're still on, because you're raising some cattle, the difference between the minerals that most people are using, they don't know the difference.
Yeah, just quickly, I mean, most minerals are made by the large corporations that create corn, Cargill, Purina, whatever you want to. There's a lot of them out there. Most of them are garbage because they're made from the grain byproducts from the process of ethanol and things like that, because it's just extra waste stuff that they can't get rid of. So you buy a bag of mineral, it costs $22 or $25. There's really only $2 worth of ingredients in there. And it's mostly filler. And so cattle will eat it, and they think that the producers think, great, my cattle like it. It's got to be good for them, right? No, it's got barely anything good for them in it. Dr. Will Winter, he's a holistic veterinarian. I've worked with him for a while now, over a year. One of the most knowledgeable people in holistic veterinary medicine that I've known. He's done it for 30 years, developed these minerals. And we try to create a system within this that is eliminating antibiotics, hormones, and vaccines as well. A lot of people think you always will need vaccines. And I thought when I was raising cattle, you'll need them. But if you create a system where you're managing animals well on pasture, all you really need then is a good mineral program, and you won't have to vaccinate them. You don't have to give them antibiotics. They're not getting sick. It's because you've created animals, and you have to worry about your genetics. You have to get good animals that are and really cull well, and you have to create a herd that getting rid of the ones that do get sick. Unfortunately, that helps build the immunity for the rest of your herd. That's just the part of it. So it's genetics and minerals and your management program. It's really that. It's pretty simple. So if you want to, I put the website for there as well. I run that company right now. If anyone's interested in trying stuff, you're always welcome to email me about it. Well, the minerals we sell are just nutrient-dense minerals that cost more, but they eat a lot less of them, and they're not fillers. And so they allow you to create a program where you're not using antibiotics and vaccines.
Wonderful. Azomite is wonderful for your garden. I'm not sure what minerals you're using though.
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't work with a lot of gardeners. I mean, that's not necessarily what we do. So, I mean, we sell diatomaceous earth. I mean, it's not really stuff that we've made personally. We're a supplier of it. But the minerals, the craft minerals that we make, the recipes that we've created ourselves is really the strong suit, the main point of the company.
Oh gosh, we are just signing off Food Forest Permaculture. Please go back and watch the whole video. And Eric, we're going to be talking. I want everybody to tune in. Let's just make a plan, Daryl, that one way or another we're going to do a live stream on. I know I am changing what I said earlier, but let's just make a plan that we will do a live stream on the 18th at Daryl's somehow and we're going to talk about biochar and azomite and mushrooms and all kinds of wonderful stuff. So thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate your attention. We only had a small group today. I don't even think we made it to 30. But I appreciate everybody that tuned in, and I appreciate everybody that's going to watch the replay. This was a surprise. I did not promote this. So thanks so much for staying with us, and I hope you enjoyed it. And please support this channel, and we will see you in the next video.
Thanks, guys. I was enjoying talking to you guys.